All right, welcome everyone to today's webinar on digital modernization of your staffing firm without losing the human touch. My name is David Garson with Advanced Partners, and we are excited for this topic. But before we get started, I wanted to turn it over to Alan for a couple of housekeeping items.
All right, thank you, David. First, this webinar is being recorded, and we will send everybody a link to the recording via a post-event email following the event. To submit a question, there's a Ask Question window, and if your question isn't answered, it is valuable in helping us develop additional resources for you, such as FAQs and other webinars, but we should be able to, after the event, go through and get to some of those questions. In addition, we will have a Q&A session near the end of this broadcast. There is a Learn More section, and that includes a PDF of the slides that are being shared for today's event. Also, there's a survey that's going to launch at the end of the webinar, and we hope you take a moment to fill it out, as it helps us refine the content that we provide to you. And then for any technical issues during the webcast, please select the Help widget, which is the question mark, and that's on the bottom of the console. And this provides the most common issues and resolutions. David, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Alan. Well, it's our pleasure to have Maurice Fuller, who is the founder of StaffingTec and serves as a fractional CTO to the staffing industry. He has more than 25 years of experience in the contingent staffing industry and has been leading staffing technology initiatives for more than 2 decades. Previously, Maurice was the vice president at Wimmer Solutions, an IT staffing and consulting firm in Seattle. And before that, Maurice was the executive director of operations for CompuCom's $150 million IT staffing division, where he led multiple functional areas, including IT and marketing. Maurice has his MBA and MSEE degrees from NYIT and the University of Washington. Maurice, handing it off to you.
Thank you so much, David, and thank you so much, Alan. This topic of digital modernization is something that I'm extremely passionate about because it really represents the future of where our entire industry is headed, and it's so important to the success of our firms. Here's a disclaimer I want to share with you concerning the content of this presentation. All right. StaffingTec, the firm that I lead, is a staffing technology advisory firm. We work with small and medium-sized staffing firms to help you crystallize your digital strategy, help you build the best tech stack that will enable that strategy, help you optimize your staffing technology purchases, and we help you succeed with your technology investments. I also work with staffing firms to select ATS systems, and I provide fractional CTO services. I produce a podcast called Staffing Technology with Maurice Fuller. We feature leaders in staffing technology, and it's a great way to learn about advancements in staffing technology. So let's get started. We've seen a lot of waves of technology in the staffing industry since it got started right after World War II in New York with Kelly Services. Back then, everything was 100% manual when we did staffing. A very tiny industry back then, but we've seen a lot of innovation, a lot of changes in computing that have changed the way our industry runs. And it's really, though, the last big waves, automation and AI, that are really about to have a massive impact on the way that our firms operate. And it's really kind of the last set of technologies that we need to take our firms to a very high level of automation and intelligence. So I want to talk about the acceleration of technology. And one way to think about it is just looking at our mobile phones that we use on a daily basis. So for example, a decade ago, I was using an iPhone 5 running iOS 6. Today, I'm running a iPhone 14. These phones are worlds apart. The iPhone 5 is like a toy compared to the phone that I'm using today. And so when we think about the progress that we've just been through over the last decade, think about your phone, think about the change that you've seen. You should plan for the next decade on 3 times as much change technologically. And a lot of this is going to be driven through artificial intelligence. So we have this sense of how quickly technology is progressing, and we tend to lean into technology based on our feeling for how quickly things are progressing. But in fact, everything is accelerating. And that's why we need to lean into and invest more heavily in technology than we might think that we need to do, because we're not taking this acceleration effect into account. In fact, technology spend as a percentage of GDP is slated to double over the next decade, according to Satya Nadella, Microsoft's CEO, from 5% of GDP to 10%. So your budgets for technology internally will at least double over the next decade, but more likely than not, they will triple or quadruple, because your firm is increasingly becoming technology driven. In fact, your staffing business is becoming a technology business. Some staffing firms are even becoming software businesses that happen to be in the staffing business. You're becoming a technology business that is providing staffing services. So if you think about your staffing firm as a black box that provides services, in many ways, the stakeholders that you work with, your candidates, your employees, your customers, don't necessarily care how that value is produced within that black box. You could have people producing that value. You can have technology, some combination thereof. You could even have gerbils spinning around on a wheel that somehow is delivering that value. Currently, we have people filling traditional roles, delivering these services: recruiters, back office people, account managers, administrative people, operations specialists. But increasingly, the value that we deliver will be delivered through software, through data, through algorithms, through AI and large language models. And so the composition of these roles is going to change. You will not need as many recruiters as you have today in order to fill those orders. Automation is making staffing firms more productive. They don't need as many recruiters as they've had in the past. You won't need as many back office people on your team, but those roles are going to shift. You're going to, instead of a recruiter, you might have an automation specialist. You might have a data analyst. You might have a business analyst or an AI specialist. There's a lot of different roles that are going to emerge within your staffing firm to deliver value to your stakeholders. So I talk with a lot of staffing firms that talk to me about the white glove services that they provide. Maurice, we love this idea of digital modernization, but we provide white glove level of service to our candidates and to our clients, and we're known for our white glove service. And I fully believe that's an important element of the services that we provide. It's important that we provide high value services. But I always like to think of it as there's really 2 gloves. There's a human glove delivering human white glove services, and then there's a digital glove delivering digital white glove services. And together, these white gloves bring the total set of services that you are offering to everyone that you work with. And as we raise the caliber of the digital services that we're providing, it's also going to enable us to raise the value of the human services, because the digital enablement takes away a lot of low value things that we're doing as humans. It frees us up to focus more on the high value activities, which is building relationships and consulting with our clients and advising our candidates. So how do we navigate into this future of accelerating technological change? That's really what we want to focus on in today's presentation. So I'll take you through the top 12 staffing technology trends that are strategic to our industry over the next 3 years. We're going to talk about the two most important trends, automation and AI, and then we'll summarize some of the key takeaways from this presentation, and then we're really looking forward to your questions. So every year we issue a report to our clients on the top 12 staffing technology trends that are strategic to our industry, and I want to take you through them. The first is hyperautomation. This is really automating everything that can be automated within your staffing firm, using multiple different tools for automating. And you could have onboarding automation, you can have tools, programmatic tools for automating hundreds of different facets of your staffing firm. That's what we mean by hyperautomation. We're going to go into this in quite a bit of detail in a little bit. Total experience. This is the idea that more and more of the way that we deliver services and value to our stakeholders is being done through software. And so the folks that we work with experience our business more and more through software. And so these experiences are being compared with best-in-class experiences, consumer experiences like with Amazon. So candidates, clients, they don't necessarily differentiate between the experience that they get on a consumer site, a bank site, for example, and your company, even though there's vast differences in the size of these businesses. So we need to be mindful of providing a world-class experience that's comparable with the best consumer experiences. And we can do that through automation. Applied AI is machine learning and large language models. All these new forms of AI that are emerging are becoming extremely important to our businesses. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So digital workplace, these are all the technologies that are enabling us to be more productive within our workplace. I'm talking about all the Microsoft Office applications, even tools like Teams and Slack are very vital to being able to keep everybody on the same team and helping us be more productive. Having a high caliber, state-of-the-art digital workplace enables us to operate more efficiently and more effectively. Enterprise data. So traditionally, we've had a lot of data within our ATSs that are important to us, but a lot of us haven't taken really good care of that data. But that is changing very rapidly because more and more of the value that we deliver is being performed through automation and through AI and through programs that take advantage of this data. So it's imperative that we pay attention to the health and the quality of this data in order to bring significant value to everyone that we work with. So enterprise data is becoming extremely important to work with algorithms and AI. Digital marketing has traditionally been sort of the backwaters of staffing. It's becoming extremely important now. It's far more than just hosting a website or paying attention to job postings. It's all about enabling sales to be more efficient, more effective, and to be able to sell easier. It's about being able to recruit better candidates faster and enabling that. And many staffing firms, because it's become so complex, are turning to digital marketing agencies to support them. Predictive analytics and BI are essential for running your organization as effectively as possible. So many of you are adopting BI and have great BI capabilities. The next generation beyond this is predictive analytics, where we can predict the labor dynamics and the labor demands of our clients and factor those into how we do business. So, for example, if we know that a particular client always has a certain opening, like let's say an oncology nurse every December, that are hard to find and the positions are hard to fill, we can use these predictive analytics to predict this requirement and proactively look for these people to make sure we can fill those orders. Conversational systems are essentially bots. We all interact with them. We've seen these on websites. They're mostly rules-based. If the answer is this, then we respond this way. But this is just on the cusp of changing in a really major way. There's significant advancements that are occurring right now in conversational systems, such that your staffing firm is highly likely to have very, very intelligent, very human-like conversational systems that are part of your tech stack in the next few years. And it will be taking on more and more of the roles that your recruiters and back office people are currently handling as far as engagement with your different stakeholders. Web 3.0 technologies is sort of a collection of future leading edge technologies. This could include blockchain, it could include big data, distributed technologies. These are all technologies that are being worked on and are moving into the mainstream over the years ahead. Autonomous staffing is the idea that we are able to staff positions without recruiter involvement. And so once the candidate is set up in the system, a recruiter might be involved in that part and the front end, then matches happen automatically, engagement with candidates and clients happens automatically, and candidates can be placed onto assignments very rapidly. There are staffing firms out there that are filling north of 50% of their orders today using autonomous methods. And I could see a time by 2030 where a quarter of all orders in the staffing industry are filled autonomously. Staffing Cloud Platform is the collection of all the technologies you have in the cloud and the integration of all these technologies that you use to deliver services to everyone that you work with. You will have more and more technologies that are delivering these services in the clouds, and they will be tightly integrated together to deliver value to everyone that you work with. And your ability to deliver value is heavily dependent on your staffing cloud. And then the last one is immersive reality. This is these virtual reality and augmented reality goggles, which are going to become more and more prevalent among consumers and within business. Now that Apple has announced their product, it's about to get real as software developers build solutions for that. And within a decade, these technologies are going to be all over the place. They will be pervasive in business to get work done. So these are our top 12 staffing technology trends. Now, what I'd like to do is dive in specifically into two of the most important trends that you need to be investing in for the success of your staffing firm. And the first one is hyper-automation of staffing. As I mentioned before, this is everything having to do with automating your staffing firm using multiple approaches in multiple areas. Some of the biggest staffing firms in the world are using many different automation platforms to automate their businesses, ranging from traditional automation tools like Sense or Bullhorn Automation, or automation tools that are built within ATS systems, to programming directly against the API with a wide range of programming languages, using low and no code programming tools, using integration technologies to bring these automations together. So it's essentially programmatic tools that streamline your business. And there's so many advantages. Top line, SIA recently issued a report that showed that staffing firms that were investing in automation were seeing 20% more revenue than firms that had not invested in automation. And it doesn't take a lot of automations to see significant material impact. So you should expect to make more placements, receive more job orders, realize cost savings and operational efficiencies, be able to run your operations faster, more consistently, scale efficiently, make fewer mistakes in your operations, but also use it as a way to carve out differentiation and give yourself competitive advantages relative to your competition. It works throughout your business, sales, recruitment. There's opportunities to automate all parts of your business. So you want to approach automation strategically and not haphazardly, like, oh, let's get an automation tool and let's start automating and see where it goes. You want to really study the area. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of available resources, and think about what do you want to accomplish with automation? What can you accomplish with automation? How are you going to resource the team? What tools are you going to use? Where are you going to prioritize your investments? And then you want to form an automation team that is fully backed by the entire organization from the top down, with a mission to streamline the business. So a good place for the automation team to begin is just by mapping out your current existing processes. And you could do it by bringing your SMEs together and subject matter experts to get onto a whiteboard, use sticky notes. Once you have this mapped out like this, you can use a tool like Lucidchart to document these processes. And once the processes have been documented, you can look for opportunities to streamline certain parts of your processes that are either done often or that recruiters don't like to do, or where mistakes are being made, or there's inconsistencies, and where time efficiencies can be gained very rapidly. So this involves understanding the capabilities of the tool, what can be done with the tools, aligned against the processes that you're currently performing. It's also a good opportunity to rethink how you deliver services to your clients and the value that you're delivering. So I recommend weekly meetings for your automation team. Bring together all the key SMEs. During those meetings, look at the automations that you just released in the past week, look at the ones that you're looking to release in the next week, look at your backlog of ideas, add to those ideas. Many firms that I know have this down so efficiently they can do these automation team meetings every week in about 15 minutes. So your group might be larger, but it can be done very quickly and very efficiently. And it's so important to maintain that rhythm of weekly meetings to continue to make progress with your automation journey. It's critical to prioritize these automations because not all ideas are created equal. Some are super high impact and some are low impact. So clearly you want to focus on the ones that are going to generate the highest return first, and then you can get to the other ones later. That way you can start realizing financial gains more quickly. You want to build champions within your organization to help socialize these automations, because this is a bit disruptive. And for people that have been in the industry for a long time, you will notice a change in terms of how your work is being done. So it's important that everybody is on board and we all realize this is a good thing, because this is going to enable us to get more work done faster. Recruiters will be more productive, and we will be doing less of the work that we don't like and more of the work that we love to do as recruiters. We want to think about providing a great experience, a great software experience to everyone that we work with. We want to think about how to leverage automation to create unique services that we weren't able to create before because they were too time-consuming for humans to deliver. And it's important to stay on top of technology for automation. This area is changing very rapidly. The firms that are involved in automation tech are constantly adding new features and capabilities that we want to take advantage of. So stay on top of automation technology and look for new automation technologies that you can bring into your toolbox. So from a financial point of view, and that's what automation really addresses, this is a massively high return on investment opportunity to grow revenues, streamline operations, and improve profitability. You should think about budgeting for automation on a long-term, multi-year basis. In fact, over time, it's likely that your investments in automation are going to increase, not decrease. It's not a set and forget kind of a thing. It's a ongoing commitment to continuously improving your operations through technology. And going back to this idea of prioritizing the automations, you want to think through what the likely impact and ROI is going to be, and then have a way to measure the impact. So you can go back and compare what you expected against the actual impact. And then the last point I want to make here is that this is a compounding process where these automations stack one on top of each other. And as you add more and more automations, you become increasingly efficient. So one automation might make your recruiting team 0.5% more efficient. The next automation might add 0.1 or 0.2, and another 0.1, another 0.2. You stack all of these together, and you start getting into material level impact on your performance. And so that's why you want to keep moving forward, because there's literally hundreds of opportunities to automate your business. It's not like you get to a certain number and you're done. This is a never-ending process that it will be part of your staffing firm for as long as you're in the business. So now I want to move on to this next topic, which is super, super hot right now, which is AI and this new era that we're about to enter, which I'm calling super intelligent staffing. So we want to cover these topics here: why AI is a big deal, why large language models, which are the foundation for generative AI, are actually underhyped, use cases in staffing, how to gain access to this, some best practices, and some trends as well. And what happens when we combine everything we talked about with automation with everything we're about to talk about with AI, and we bring those two together? It's very exciting. So AI is really a breakthrough technology, a revolutionary technology. SEMrush president Eugene Levine said, in terms of long-term impact, this is going to be on par with personal computers, the internet, and smartphones. So it's a revolutionary technology, certainly the most important technology of our generation, perhaps the most important technology for humans. So it's something that you definitely want to stay on top of and really think about how you're going to incorporate this within your business. And there's so many different dimensions to this. I'm just going to cover the highlights here in this presentation. So OpenAI is the organization in Silicon Valley that really brought this to life. These AI technologies have been theorized and talked about for decades, but finally, in the last couple of years, everything came together for this moment with ChatGPT. We have the compute power that we needed. We had the algorithms that we needed. We had all the frameworks and technologies. It all finally came together. And so the AI moment has arrived. But I really think that next year is really when it's going to begin in a significant way for the staffing industry. It will begin next year in earnest, in part through the release of Microsoft 365 Copilot. So a whole new version of Office is coming out with ChatGPT enabled throughout all of the Microsoft applications in Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Microsoft Teams, even Microsoft's browser, Edge, even Windows next year will be AI enabled. And so, for example, in Outlook, you'll be able to have Outlook. It will automatically respond to certain emails. You might say, well, how does it know how to respond? That's because it's going to bring in information from a wide range of sources and provide a first draft for you. And then you can work off of that draft to create the response. You can use it to change the tone of your email, for example, and proofread it. It's going to enable us to increase the quality of our work and get more work done faster, and also work more smoothly. Instead of switching between a lot of applications, a lot of information will be fed in into Outlook, for example. So this is something to pay attention to and really think about how you're going to deploy this within your organization, because you will have your own private local ChatGPT for your organization. ChatGPT and large language models will be everywhere, and they will be integrated together. This article just came out where this journalist is talking about how 365 Cobot will be the foundation for definite increases in productivity. A new desktop productivity revolution begins. Microsoft this week fleshed out the plans for its generative AI tools. Copilot let the productivity gains begin. So it's something we can really look forward to. About 1,000 companies worldwide are now testing this, and it will roll out next year. So we talked about Copilot. What is a Copilot? Think about it as like if you were paired up with another human being and you were working side by side with another person to get work done, but instead of a human being, it's actually an AI that is assisting you along the way. These copilots will be in every application that we use, and they will be more and more powerful and provide a lot of work that we currently do ourselves or do on our own in isolation, or it takes us time to do. It will support us in this way. A copilot could even be a manager. Like if you think about Uber, for example, tens of thousands of Uber drivers don't really have managers. They're managed by software. So we ourselves more and more are going to be managed and overseen in different ways by copilots. Some people are calling copilots agents, but whatever they are, they're AIs that exist, specialized AI to support us in the work that we do and in our personal lives. So in software, software engineers are increasingly working with these copilots. There's a concept called pair programming, where two software engineers work together to program together, and where 1 + 1 is greater than 2. When they're working together, they can spot bugs or errors, they can code faster, they can keep each other focused. But now imagine, instead of a human person you're working with, you've got a bot, and together you're programming. This is resulting in significant gains in productivity for certain programmers that are using these programming copilot tools. One person, an analyst I read recently, was theorizing that these copilots could increase programmer productivity by 10x just in the next 6 or 7 years. That seems like a stretch, but it gives you a sense of just how much these productivity gains can be in certain domains. And we're certainly within the staffing realm going to see significant productivity gains as well. Morgan Stanley is training ChatGPT to help their financial advisors give better advice on the fly. So they've been loading in tens of thousands of documents into a large language model, and they're helping their financial advisors get access to this information quickly so that they can perform at a higher level than they would otherwise with their level of training, and deliver more value to their customers. So this is an example of a local large language model, a local instance of ChatGPT with private information that's private to Morgan Stanley. It has a lot of guardrails around it so that the advisors can't go into outside of certain boundaries, but it's local and specifically trained for Morgan Stanley. We're going to see more and more of that. You're going to have your own local large language model kind of like this for your business. There's a terrific article I highly recommend that you download and read from McKinsey called the economic potential of generative AI, the next productivity frontier. So we see a lot of scary articles right now about jobs that are going to be lost. McKinsey has a completely different view on that. They think that AI is going to drive enormous gains in commerce and business in the years ahead. So specifically, they believe that generative AI, large language models, impact on productivity could add trillions of dollars of value to the global economy. Some more takeaways from this article. About 75% of the value that generative AI use cases could deliver falls across 4 areas. Customer operations, that's what we do in staffing with recruiting and operations, customer operations. Marketing, which we do a lot of, sales, which we do a lot of, and then software engineering and R&D. We do some of that with automation. But you can see how generative AI, large language models, the impact falls squarely on what we do in the staffing industry. And that's why it's going to have such a massive impact on our internal operations and how we work with our clients, and why we need to adopt this as rapidly as possible and take advantage of it. Generative AI will have a significant impact across all industry sectors. So it will also impact all of the customers that we serve. The pace of workforce transformation is likely to accelerate given increases in the potential for technical automation. So this is this idea I mentioned earlier, where the composition of your team and the skills that they have is rapidly going to evolve to support what AI is able to do. And then the last one here, AI has the potential to change the anatomy of work, augmenting the capabilities of individual workers by automating some of their individual activities. So recruiters are going to be augmented by AIs that help them get their work done faster and more efficiently. So you can kind of think of a large language model, the foundation of ChatGPT, as a magic box where AI happens. It's very complex. It does things that we can't necessarily trace back and understand exactly what it did. It's not like it's a logical rule where you do this and exactly this happens. So the traceability aspect of these large language models is still being worked out, but we train it with data from trusted data, and then we prompt it. We prompt it with questions and different ways of talking to the large language model, and that gives us output. Output could be text, video, audio, graphs, charts, rich media, and combination all of the above. And we train it with our proprietary information through these prompts. So some of the top trends, again, expect AI to be adopted everywhere. We are going to be working side by side with AIs in all the different contexts of our lives, from all the applications on our phones, our productivity applications. It's going to be with us everywhere. It's going to automate more and more mundane tasks, enable us to get more work done faster and more productive. Co-pilots and agents will be everywhere. You'll have local large language models, local to your phone, local to every application, local to your company. And also, you're going to be able to integrate data together. And like I mentioned before, there might be an integration between your ATS and your Microsoft applications to inform your Outlook responses, for example. So here's some early use cases in staffing. Certainly tons of marketing materials are being generated with ChatGPT, crafting and improving emails, candidate outreach campaigns are being crafted with ChatGPT, job descriptions, job ad copy, interview questions are being formulated. I talked to a senior recruiter who was working in engineering staffing. He told me that he asked ChatGPT to create a set of questions for a very narrow technology he was working with, he'd never heard of. It created 10 questions, 10 sets of answers, and 3 of those questions actually came up for the candidate during the interview. candidate and client surveys, meeting transcripts and summaries, generating ideas, using it, for example, to formulate subject lines, even using it as a thesaurus, meeting agendas. More and more, we're going to be trained by ChatGPT on proprietary information. So how do we get access to this? There's several ways. OpenAI is what I use most frequently. There's a free and a paid version. I use the paid version. I frequently use the mobile app several times a day. Bing has a version. Google Bard is out there. And there's hundreds and hundreds of applications that are very narrowly focused on specific use cases that build on ChatGPT. You want to implement this strategically and don't just sort of allow this to happen haphazardly, but actually have a plan for how you're going to deploy large language models. Top-down strategy, think about data privacy, how you're going to protect data, security, how transparent are you going to be in your communications that are generated through AI? How are you going to train everybody on AI and ChatGPT so they can take full advantage of it? What are your policies? How are you going to govern the use of AI within your business? And all these integrations that are going to occur as well. How are you going to manage your local large language models? There's a lot to it that we're going to be thinking about going forward. And so now I want to just go into this final slide here, which is really about what happens when we have all these advantages of hyper-automation, automating all kinds of processes, hundreds of processes within our firms. And we combine that with all the capabilities of ever increasingly smart AI. And we're about to enter this era of really, really smart staffing, super intelligent staffing. There are leading edge technologists that are telling me that some of the things that they're doing with large language models rivals their own abilities to engage with human beings. And so we're going to see tremendous change. Right now, mostly we're thinking about AI and automation as separate things, but when we can combine them together and use automation to call AI and AIs to trigger automations, it's really going to lead to some dramatic changes in how we do business and how the value we're able to deliver. So sort of to summarize here, why do you want to do this? First and foremost, it's a way to increase the level of value that you provide to everybody that you work with. It's a way to make your firm more valuable. It's a way to grow your revenues faster. It's a way to streamline operations. It's a way to make your business operate more consistently. It's also a way to future-proof your business against all the changes that are going to occur going forward. When is the best time to get started? That's like asking, when is the best time to plant a tree? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. So you want to lean into technology, budget more than you think that you need to take advantage of this. But you want to go in with a strategy. And it's super important that you make the right investments to automate your business and invest in AI. It's very easy to make investments and not necessarily see the returns from those investments. So picking the right tools, using the right approach is imperative to realizing success. And the execution on this really matters. Consistent execution. When you encounter headwinds with automation, with AI, you've got to punch through those and continue moving forward to keep up with what's going on. Expect significant ROI from these investments if you do it well. And the impact will be tremendous. A couple more slides here. So again, we focus on serving small and mid-sized staffing firms. If you're looking for help with respect to your digital strategy, or building your tech stack, or selecting an ATS, or purchasing technology, or optimizing what you have, happy to talk with you. We could spend some time together going through your current tech stack and in a workshop format, identify opportunities for you and the best approaches for you to modernize your staffing firm. And with that, I really look forward to your questions. All right, let's get started with the first question here.
All right, Maurice, thank you so much. That was a ton of information, and it's exciting about what lies ahead. All right, we've got a handful of questions from the audience. The first one is, how should I get started with AI in my business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now, we're in the very, very early stages of AI. And I think it's important to think about how you're going to deploy ChatGPT within your organization this year. So you should have a way for your employees to gain access to this. And it doesn't matter whether they're in back office, in recruiting, sales, everybody should have access to these tools, and they should be trained in using these tools. And the type of training that they need will vary depending upon which group that they're in. So there's training courses available on LinkedIn Learning, some really great training for leaders to think about how to lead AI. There's some great training programs on Udemy for folks that are in marketing, for example, where there's a lot of opportunities for using AI. There's also some great training courses on YouTube. So I would identify the best training courses for the right audience. Don't put everybody through the same training course, because some of us need a little bit of training and some of us need a lot of training. But make a point this year to get everybody trained so they can prompt AI and take advantage of it. I myself use AI, ChatGPT, at least once an hour now for all kinds of different purposes.
All right, thank you, Maurice. And we do have a few more questions coming in. Another question comes in from Mariah. She asks, how would immersive reality be used in a staffing business? If you could give us a little bit of detail about that and your thoughts.
That's a great question. So I know of a large staffing firm right now that is using virtual reality to help candidates preview what it's like to have a particular job. What would it be like to drive a forklift machine? What would it be like to work in a certain warehouse? What would it be like to tour through a particular building? What would it be like to sit behind or stand behind the counter of a McDonald's and work that job? So it's a way to preview a job. There's many other use cases, but that's one of the very early use cases in our industry.
Great. Yeah, thank you very much. Is there anything in particular that staffing firms should look at when it comes to AI to get started? I know that you kind of touched on some of these stuff, but given kind of the direction that things are going, what are some sort of first steps that people should do maybe to dip their toes in the water in this field?
So going back to, okay, so there's AI and automation. Again, on AI, really at this stage, it's about training everyone on AI, and also leading from the top down and making sure that everybody realizes that AI is important to the future of our business, and to share what's working amongst each other, maybe even form a group that's focused on AI, and keeping up with all the trends and sharing that information internally, so that you have an increasingly growing awareness of what can be done, and more people within your organization are using AI on a daily basis. So by the time that Microsoft Office comes along and it's broadly deployed, everybody is used to using AI. On the automation side, I think identifying the best automation tools for your business is a really good starting point, and making those investments and then get started. A good starting point is just to get a handful of automations up and running. For example, an autoresponder to candidates saying, hey, thank you very much. We've received your resume. Here's the next steps. Maybe communicating with your candidates, start using the tools for cleaning up your data and looking for data that needs to be updated in some way. So there's a lot of high value things that you can be doing early on to get some experience with automation and get that journey going.
Great. Yeah, that's a great thing to think about as we kind of head into this space. So another question that I have is, could you address any potential legal issues related to entering information into an open AI system?
That's a really fantastic question. Thanks for bringing that up. I actually was on a call with someone who was taking notes, basically recording conversations between themselves and a client, and then running that information through ChatGPT to organize that. And I thought, wow, what if that client was giving proprietary information to you, and then that proprietary information somehow was fed into this open model? So I think we have to be really mindful of those kind of things. And this is where we want to have clear policies around what we can do with AI and what we cannot do. And this is where the training comes in, where we are aware of these kind of things, that when we work with some of these tools, that some information could make its way into a public place. Now, with Microsoft and the way they're setting up their large language models, when you do these kind of things, that information will remain private with you. But you really need to be aware of what's happening with information, proprietary information that you're feeding into these models. You may be giving up proprietary information and sharing that in the outside world.
Yeah, definitely good thing to think about. Thank you for that question and the great response there, Maurice. So with that, just based on the interest of time, we're going to close our Q&A session. David, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
No, thank you so much, Alan. And Maurice, on behalf of everyone at Advanced Partners, we truly appreciate your time and insight into, this fascinating topic. And if you'd like to get a copy of the presentation, please reach out to us. Also, please feel free to reach out to Maurice if you'd like to dive deeper into this topic. He is a wealth of knowledge, and we're grateful for having him as an industry friend. So thank you so much, Maurice. We truly appreciate everything you're doing today and obviously for the industry. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of your audience.
Great. Thank you.